This presentation is an analysis of Percy Bysshe Shelley's poems Ozymandias and To a Sky-Lark. Ozymandias. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear, My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my words, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." Analysis of Ozymandias. The poem Ozymandias was written about King Ramses II of Egypt, whose Greek name is Ozymandias. He and his civilization have died, and all that is left of him is his statue, which has fallen and is eroding in the desert. The poem suggests that nature holds dominion over humanity. His words are ironic because we no longer need to fear the king because both he and his civilization have died and are reduced to a fallen and deteriorating statue in the desert. He is forgotten, and he has returned to the earth from which he came. Analysis of To a Sky-Lark. Since this poem is quite long, I will not read To a Sky-Lark, but would like to discuss it a bit. Shelley does not follow the rules of poetic form because, like a typical romantic poet, he doesn't feel the need to be restricted by any rules. Shelley didn't believe in traditional religion, but felt he could find God in nature. Listening to the skylark inspires him and brings him closer to God. The poem reveals the speaker's strong desire to become close to God through the skylark. In the poem, he instantly calls the skylark a spirit, beginning the poem with, "Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert." This poem comes from inspiration recollected in the way Wordsworth says a poem should come to a poet. Wordsworth says a poem should be the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotion recollected in tranquility, which exactly what To a Sky-Lark is. He makes reference to heaven and the skylark's closeness to heaven throughout the poem. He says humans cannot fully understand the bird as we are not of the heavens, but he uses the bird to help him contemplate heaven. As a poet, he tries to recreate heaven for the reader by using comparisons or similes to say what the bird is like, calling the skylark like a cloud of fire, like an embodied joy whose race is just run, and like a star of heaven that cannot be seen in daytime but can be heard. He tries to understand the bird and thus heaven better by asking the supernatural bird a series of questions, such as, "What is most like thee, and what sweet thoughts are thine? What objects are the foundation of thy happy strain? What fields or waves or mountains? What shapes of sky or plain? What love of thine own kind, and what ignorance of pain?" Although he cannot seem to fully comprehend or understand the bird, just as humans cannot fully comprehend heaven, the speaker tries his best, using numerous similes to describe the bird, saying the skylark is like a poet, like a high-born maiden, like a glowworm golden, and like a rose, and yet he seems incapable of fully describing the bird and the intense joy of its song that is not of this world. Toward the end of the poem, one stanza describes the bird's connection to the afterlife, to a world mortals are not a part of, but one from which we may have come from before birth and return to after death, a concept Wordsworth and many other romantic poets believed in. "Waking or asleep, thou of death must deem things more true and deep than we mortals dream. Or how could thy notes flow in such a crystal stream?" The skylark's song is a window into the heavens, or a life not of this world. Shelley says the bird's joy is better than anything we can read about or capture through a poem. Better than all the measures of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found. Therefore he ends the poem with a request to the Sky-Lark to inspire him and his poetry by requesting of the Sky-Lark, "Teach me half the gladness that thy brain must know, such harmonious madness from my lips would flow, the world should listen then, as I am listening now." The poem's exaltation of nature, intense emotion, and supernatural elements make it truly romantic.